Radio Rahim here with Anthony Joshua. We're here in Cardiff, Wales. You've yet again packed another arena, close to 80,000 expected. Yeah. But yesterday we saw you at the workout. Yeah. This workout to me seemed to be the most relaxed and comfortable I've seen you. I've seen you for several fights now. Yeah. My question being, do you feel more comfortable being champion now? Does it feel more like a fit, a role that you've grown into?
I think just as a fighter, as a complete fighter, and I can always go back to talk about like my career. Let's just cut it short. 2008, I started boxing. 12 was Olympics. 13 pro, and now we're here. And I just think like you look at the great fighters of our generation, like Rigondeaux, Erizande Lara, Canelo, Lomachenko, and no disrespect to anyone of that, but they've had extensive amateur careers. You need that pedigree. And I feel like I would have had, like, if I look at my career from when I started to now, I would have had like a good 8 years of fighting. And I feel like now, after those 8 years of competing, I'm starting to come into my own. Do you know what I mean? Early on, it was like straight into the amateurs, straight into the European level, straight into the world level, send them off to the pros, and it was just like back to back. And at heavyweight boxing, I was making a lot of mistakes, but because I had a lot of strength, and I was getting away with it and desire. But now, after 8 years, I've learned about skill, position of hands, balance, and I know how to fight for sure. So I'm more confident in my own ability now for sure.
When you say you know how to fight now for sure, it brings up a thought that adversity makes the man, right?
Yeah.
And early in your career, even though we're still early, the beginnings, you were just running through guys. Nobody's getting it to the 8th round. And then you run into Klitschko. You're ultimately successful, but the adversity in that fight, I'm wondering if that's changed you as a fighter or even as a man.
I just think like when I like watching boxing, but I used to watch some of the great fights. And like, maybe you might see it the way I do, but you can be saying to yourself, these are like the old school's the best school. Do you know what I mean? How do they take these punches? How are they taking this beating and still coming back? And now I know what it's about. I've been there. I know how to do it. I know about giving out punishment, and I know how to receive punishment. You know what I mean? So that's what's changed in my mind. I just understand the different dynamics of the sport. So I'll never crumble, I don't think. And that's what I say, if God willing I don't, but if I ever get beat, it will only because that man was better than me on the night. Not because I was, you know, weaker or I didn't have the heart. I just get beat on skill.
I understand the necessity to face mandatory opponents, the business of boxing, that's part of it. But do you take a risk when, and no disrespect to Carlos Takam, you take challenges that may not be at that level. You don't continue to fight at an elite level, and you can blow through these guys, and then you run into another Klitschko situation, and you're not used to performing at that level against that type of competition.
Well, the fans are going to be winners then, because we're just going to have a straight war. It's not going to be about outclassing opponents, because that's what maybe you're saying, is that there's a potential where I can have the ability to outclass someone like Takam, and I'm going to face someone who's on the same level. But that just means that I'm going to have a straight war with this guy, because that's what I say, is that if he's better than me with skill, I know I've got the heart to battle through, you know. So either way, if I can outclass them, it's great. And if I can't outclass them, they're going to be in for a hell of a fight.
Do you make that decision to be a fan favorite, to please the fans? Because it's not the kind of fight that you would fight against Takam unless you felt like you had him bested in every way. It's a risk that you didn't have to take.
I could talk about all of Takam's wins. Like he's got so many wins, like Perez. Who's the other guys that he's fought?
You're bigger than him. You're faster than him. His style appreciates you.
I think one of his best fights, even though he lost, was a real good fight against Povetkin, who they both stood in front of each other. Do you know what I mean? And it was a really good fight, in my opinion. So shall I fight like that against someone shorter than me, when the natural advice from a coach would be, just keep it long, just jab, jab. But one of the best performances and fights I saw of Takam and Povetkin was a really good fight, because Povetkin finished in spectacular fashion, was they were both standing in front of each other, a little bit of movement, but not too much dancing around. And I noticed when Joseph Parker fought Takam, he was moving so much that he burnt so much unnecessary energy. So Do I stand in front, reserve energy but be effective, or win a 12-round point decision but dance around, getting hit with silly shots and stuff? So the tactics my coach would give me is to box like Parker, move, jab, let him come rushing in and tie him up. But then the style that beat Takam and his only knockout was the one that stood his ground and went toe-to-toe with him, which is a fact.